You are listening to Radio Long Island City, recorded at our studios near Hell Gate, 9 kilometers north of the Harbor Hill Moraine. And now, the Observatory. The Observatory, Thursday the 30th of July, 2026. It is 39 days after the summer solstice. It is 54 days before the autumnal equinox. In today's episode, what catbirds are up to, democracy in the Americas, a disaster on the Staten Island Ferry, Kodachrome, Casey Stengel, and Kate Bush. Today's forecast, partly sunny, 50% chance of showers or thunderstorms as the day progresses. High near 78 degrees Fahrenheit, 25.6 Celsius. North wind 9 to 11 miles per hour. The sun rises today at 5:50 a.m. Solar noon takes place today at 1:02 p.m. The sun sets today at 8:13 p.m. Civil twilight ends at 8:44 p.m. and nautical twilight ends at 9:22 p.m. The length of daytime today is 1 minute 58 seconds shorter than yesterday. The moon is in its waning gibbous phase and is 99% full at midday. The moon sets today at 6:40 a.m., and then it rises again at 8:58 p.m. These are the predicted tides today for Horns Hook. In the early morning, low tide, 5:21 a.m., 6 centimeters. In the late morning, high tide, 11:38 a.m., 1 meter 43. In the evening, low tide, 5:32 p.m., 21 centimeters. At night, high tide, 11:49 p.m., 1 meter 58. In our shared realm of plants and animals, as we come to the end of July, bird behaviors are changing. You can see it so clearly with the catbirds. Nesting is done, and the young have fledged. They're still not the strongest flyers, the young ones, but they can join their parents out and about foraging for insects. The adults are no longer singing, nor do they spend much time checking out people sitting in the park now, because the time they needed to be especially protective of their young has passed. In addition, with fewer tasty insects to be had as the summer progresses, the diet of the catbird shifts to the abundance of berries coming into fruit. Here along the coast, many catbirds will stay the winter, but some will choose to fly further south come the end of August. Commemorations. On this day in 1619, the Virginia General Assembly met for the first time in the newly built wooden church at Jamestown. They sat in the choir of the building, just like the English Parliament. It was the very first European representative assembly to be formed in North America, and Virginia has maintained its legislature to this very day. The assembly consisted of the governor, Sir George Yardley, his 4 councilors, and 22 elected burgesses. At the time, of course, only free white men could vote, but this 400-year-old body is a reflection of how deep the roots of representative government is to the nation that would become the United States. Great disasters. On this day in 1871, a Staten Island ferry exploded as it prepared to embark from South Ferry in Manhattan. The steamship was called the Westfield. It was a warm summer Sunday afternoon, and 400 people were on board, bound for the beaches of Staten Island. Without warning, the boiler under the main deck exploded. The deck was shattered, and the bridge collapsed. Many who were not killed by the explosion were scalded by the intense steam rushing out of the boiler. More than 50 people died, and up to 200 were wounded. Jacob Vanderbilt, who owned the ferry, was indicted for murder, but he was not convicted. However, his Staten Island Railway, which ran the ferry service, was forced into receivership as a result of the accident. In happier history, on this day in 1928, the photography entrepreneur George Eastman held a party at his mansion in Rochester, New York, to introduce the first amateur color motion picture technology. The guests included Thomas Edison, World War I General John Pershing, and Adolph Oakes, the publisher of the New York Times. In the lush rose garden, Eastman handed his guests a Cine Kodak Model B camera loaded with his new 16mm color film. They passed it round, taking turns filming. While they enjoyed a lavish luncheon, the film was developed, and the company saw for themselves the bright, moving images they had made in full color. It was the beginning of Kodachrome, which would become an amateur photographer's staple for decades. Today we remember Casey Stengel, born this day in 1890. He's best remembered as the manager of the New York Yankees from 1949 to 1960, a glorious period for that franchise. But we remember him, as people from Queens, most for his role as the manager of the Mets in the early 1960s. The Mets first played in the 1962 season as part of a baseball expansion. It was hoped they could fill the void left by the departure of the National League Giants and Dodgers. Stengel was a great booster for the shambolic early Mets, and it was he who coined the term "amazin' Mets." He once said, "Come out and see my amazin' Mets. I've been in this game 100 years, but I see new ways to lose I never knew existed before." Remember Casey Stengel today. Finally, today we wish a happy birthday to Kate Bush, born this day in 1958. The English singer-songwriter blends forms, and her style has been called art rock, baroque pop, avant pop, and progressive pop. Our favorite song, "There Goes a Tenor," from the 1982 album The Dreaming, takes us right back to the Thatcher years, for good or ill. Happy birthday, Kate Bush. And that is the Observatory, Thursday the 30th of July, 2026.